For me, there are two types of range days. You're either getting to know or testing existing equipment, dialing it in, and getting ready to use it for its intended purpose: competition, hunting, self-defense. Or you're out cultivating, building, and refining your skills. I rarely, if ever, mix the two because each requires a very different mindset, and once I'm really dialed in on one, it's almost impossible for me to shift gears to the other kind. So today, I'm out testing a possible competition setup with my APC9 limited 8.9-inch gun. If you already caught my overview on this amazing Swiss blaster, then you'll know that I've already made the decision to make it my 2024 competition PCC. And since it's currently January, I'm in the off season, this is the time to get all my equipment figured out before attending any matches. And today, I'm testing a muzzle device. Well, with the APC family of guns, with the exception of the APC9K, which has a 1/2x28 threaded muzzle, all the rest of them have a Tri-lug muzzle. So if you want to put anything on the end that's threaded, it requires an adapter. So I had my friends at B&T send me a Tri-lug to 1/2x28 adapter so I can test out different threaded muzzle devices, if it even needs any. I'm looking at just taking out a little bit of movement and muzzle rise, which doesn't matter for PCC competitions when shooting targets 15 yards and in, but 20, 25, and possibly further out, I want a little bit less movement in my dot, if possible. And it's not necessary. The gun cycle's so fast, always returns to 0. I can shoot pairs pretty reliably with it as is out of the box. But if there's a way to take off a little bit of the edge, since it is a 9-inch gun, then I'm going to do it. And so, first test. I'm going to start out by just seeing how the dot moves by shooting a couple pairs into the berm. Just watching the dot, seeing how it behaves, adjusting my body mechanics accordingly. For my test ammo, I'm just using 115 grain Blazer brass. Thank you, Federal Premium. And the gun's 0 to 25 and refined at 75. So it's got a 75 yard 0. It's got a really flat trajectory. The rounds basically go wherever I need them to, anything 75 yards and in. And most of the stuff you shoot at PCC competition is pretty much 25 yards in, unless you're at a very challenging field stage at a national level match. But I want this set up for any kind of match I take it to, including PCSL 2-gun. Should I switch over to PCC for my carbine on a particular stage? This APC9 Limited is set up just like my APC 223 with an Aimpoint Pro on top. So I want everything else to be as comparable as possible when shooting it versus my 223. And so, time to watch what the dot does and then adjust myself or the gun accordingly. Now we're gonna try pairs at 20 yards, see how those look. So just that up there. There are a few over here, but most of all, my glove's a little too big. This size group, 20 yards, happy with those doubles. And '17 and 18 splits, which is pretty acceptable for shooting in the cold with gloves on, and it's pretty much my match pace. There's a 16, there's a 19, but 80% of them are 17 and 18 splits. So It's about my match pace, and I'm pretty happy with those pairs at 20 yards. I know I'm going to do this again. So in general, when I first started competing with an APC9, I learned pretty quickly that I didn't have to hug it in as tight as other PCCs, and this one's no exception, but that's kind of my default. With the muzzle device, at first when I was shooting those doubles into the berm, I thought that there were too many baffles and the muzzle device was pushing the gun down below the starting point, the zero, if you will, but it is actually me bearing down on it too much. And if I just let up even more, the gun will just go right back to where it's supposed to be. It just doesn't rise as much. So it behaves like an APC9, just even more so with less dot movement. So essentially, I do need fundamentals, just as all good shooting requires, but I just don't need to hug it in as much. I mean, I just need to get out of the way and let the gun do the work. All right, now we're back at 25 yards. I'm gonna shoot a group a little higher on the target, just differentiate. And now I've kind of got an idea of the pace. I can reasonably create the group. Let's see what we can do. Throw 20 rounds or so at it, and see what the seal does. All right. All right, let's go see what we got at 25. Okay, so this looks at first glance like a tighter group than this, but these, as I said before, were more experimental. This is more indicative of the 20 yards, 25, so I've got more spread. What's interesting is it's a little wider. I was playing with some body tension, but I mean, some are on the edge, but it's still pretty much fist size, well within the realm of acceptability. And I mean, you've watched me shoot the first less than 50 or so rounds through this thing with the muzzle device on it. So you've been right here with me, and this is where I'm at 25 yards. And that's playing with body tension and no time constraints. I try to keep my splits about the same, so I mean, yeah, we're looking at 17 and 18 splits. There's a 19. So, I mean, it's relatively the same. There's not much difference between 20 and 25, it seems. I eventually, when it's a little drier and warmer, gonna push it out to 50, maybe even 75. I like to zero at 75, but really that gives me an idea of what this gun with this muzzle device will do, and I'm very happy. I'd already concluded I was going to use it for competition. I just didn't know if I was going to use a muzzle device with it. The muzzle device takes just a little bit of the rise out, and it is officially flatter with the muzzle device already than my 16-inch SPC9. So can the season start already? I'm excited. Let's do this again. All right. I know some of you are going to ask what they look like, so let's just cut the distance in half and see what the pairs look like at 10 yards, and we'll go take a look at it. I'm going to be shooting at the bottom of the C zone, so no, I'm not missing the alphas. I'm just creating groups on the target. We'll do 10 pairs or so. Try to keep splits relatively the same, and we'll see what we got. Yeah, this is a little different. Let's go look. So, again, getting to know my body tension. That was, I think, the second pair. But other than that, I mean, 10 yards, 20 yards, 25. Definitely need to put in some time with dry fire, building the neural pathways, but I'm so excited to be shooting this setup, and it just looks cool too. So I have it. Oh, I forgot the splits. Yeah, 1.7, 1.8. Oh, I did have a 1.5, but that was that when I was focusing on my splits and not my fundamentals. So, yeah. 1.4. So again, 1.7, 1.8, and when I stick with what I do naturally, that's what happens. You push for things that you haven't trained into the subconscious. That's what happens, and that's what happens. But that's why we're out here, getting to know our gear, getting to know ourselves. Well, that was a really productive range day. I learned a lot about the potential of this gun with muzzle devices. I'm glad I have the option, which really wasn't something I'd considered before. And the only thing I'm not sold on is this particular muzzle device. I think I'm going to experiment with 2 or 3 others, so shop around online. This happens to be an MBX PCC compensator I've had. I don't think they make them right now even, but it's what I have, so it's what I started with, and the experimentation in the off-season will continue, and we'll let you know how it goes. See you in the next video.